Man, I am just about sick of these motherfuckers in the chat who, like, if I set a stream time for 9 o'clock, if it ain't going by 9:01, it's like, fuck you, you lazy piece of shit. Fucking lazy. Where the fuck is the stream, bitch? Where is it? It's like, come on, man. It's a minute. It's a fucking minute. Jesus. Is your time really so fucking valuable? No. Come on. Like, imagine if your boss was that way when you were a minute late to work, you know? I know some of you probably have bosses like that, right? You know what you think about them? You think they're a fucking asshole, right? You know why you think that? Because they are. Don't be that. Fuck you. If it's 10 minutes late, then we can talk. But a minute? Like, come on. I pressed the fucking button to start streaming at 9. It took a minute. Okay? Calm the fuck down. Every time with you people. It's not everybody, but you know who you are. Shut up. Stop. Just fucking settle down, all right? Another group of fucking people in the chat, and I don't know if these motherfuckers are trolling or what, but there is this contingency of people. Chelsea made me aware of them last time because I don't look at the fucking chat. I don't know what's going on in the chat. That's her business. She's monitoring that. You know, the only way I see a chat is if it's a Streamlab or a super chat, which I, once again, read at the end of every show. But she informed me that there's people in the chat that are like, this isn't live. Nuh-uh. Not live, brah. Pre-recorded. I literally read Streamlabs and super chats at the end of each one of these. How could I possibly do that if it wasn't live? Like, is the contention that I fucking pre-record the whole thing and then make sure I look exactly the same, wearing the exact same outfit, and then through just like editing magic, I jump in live at the very end to that's it, right? To fucking read the Streamlabs and super chats. And if that was the case, why wouldn't I just present it like that? Why wouldn't I just fucking show you, hey, this is a video I recorded earlier on this subject, and afterwards I'm going to do Streamlabs and super chats. I would just do that. No. The whole fucking thing is live. Okay? It's all live. Streamlabs and super chats are read at the conclusion of it. You can Streamlab and super chat all throughout, and you get your little butt gifts, provided you give enough. I forget what the limits are, but I think it's like $5. You get your little butt gif like that right there. You see it? It's right there. You see? How would I know that one's coming in right now? I wouldn't know that unless this was live. Right? Right. So it's live. And I know that since I've cultivated an audience of contrarian fucking douchebags like myself, that now this is just going to make the problem 1,000 times worse. And there's just going to be, now instead of like 10 dudes fucking spreading this conspiracy, now it's going to be like, oh, it gets to him. And then it's going to be like 1,000, you know? And I know that next time, even like if like it's 20 minutes before the show, people are going to be in there, late, ha ha ha, hilarious meme. I say late, even though he's not late. Ha 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 ha, I am funny. No, you're not. You're a simpering fucking dolt. And that's why you work at fucking Subway and I'm fucking the one on camera talking. All right? Remember that. Sorry, that was elitist. Give me some of that Subway money, though. Streamlabs, super chats, always welcome, always read at the end of the program. You know I love you. I know I yell sometimes, but at the end of the day, you and me, you know, we're buddies. We're friends. It's all good. So I wanted to talk, I told you last time I did one of these that I'd been talking a lot of fucking electoral politics lately. Probably the last, 6, 7 streams I've done been about politics. And really dumb shit American politics too. Not like advanced political theory shit that I'm too stupid to fucking talk about. Just, which horse gonna win the horse race? But But, you know, I said I was going to take a break, and I'm a man of my word. I'm taking a fucking break. We're going to look at some cultural issues. We're going to look at some issues pertaining to art, right? And we're going to start with some stuff. I've been seeing some stuff lately about The Last of Us 2, right? The Last of Us 2. I've been seeing stuff about that for a few weeks now. People whining, people complaining. I didn't really pay much attention to what the fuck they were saying. I just know they were saying something. Now, I should preface anything I'm about to say by telling you I'm not a gamer. I know, it's weird, right? Because, like, I'm from the generation where everyone's a fucking gamer, but, like, I didn't fucking give a shit. Like, around fucking N64 days, I pretty much checked out, you know? From, like, the time I was, like, 5, 6, 7 years old with my original NES until, like, maybe early 20s, I played some video games, maybe late teens. And then I just kind of lost interest, fell off, didn't really give a shit about it anymore. So I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to gaming, gamers. I don't know what gamer culture is, what it's like, what people think, how they think. That's why, you know, people, like, even though I'm associated sometimes with Gamergate, go back through my channel. I never said shit about Gamergate. I might have fucking mentioned it in passing a couple times, but I was not like a big Gamergate guy. I think the main reason I got slapped with that at all was just because I fucking made a few responses to Anita Sarkeesian because I felt like her content was insipid garbage. And by the way, I still do. You know, I haven't changed my mind on that, despite this supposed, like, oh, he did a hard left turn. Motherfucker, I've always been hard left. I've always been crazy, wingnut, fringe left. Well, not always. When I first joined YouTube, I was a crazy libertarian. And then for about 5 minutes in 2008, I was kind of just a liberal. But pretty much since then, I've been a crazy, wingnut, psychotic, fucking leftist. And, you know, whatever. It's neither here nor there. But for some reason, you know, I wasn't perceived as that, probably because I was doing the anti-SJW stuff, which was associated with more right-wing channels. But my perspective, I mean, I went back and looked at some of my anti-SJW shit. It was always from a fucking left-leaning fucking perspective. I mean, for the most part. Occasionally a right-wing talking point would find its way in there, maybe just because of the company I was keeping or something like that. I don't fucking know. But anyway, as I said in the last episode, I still don't like SJWs. I still don't like feminists. And you know what? I'm reclaiming criticism of those two groups of people for the fucking left. You know, I'm taking it back. Right-wingers, your criticisms are stupid. You're dumb. You're my bastard children who don't deserve to fucking exist. No, I'm the real deal with the actual substantive fucking criticisms, as I'm about to fucking demonstrate once again. So let's take a look at this Last of Us 2 controversy and see what the fuck is going on. So here's a fucking tweet, right? Whoop! Here's a fucking tweet, mate. I said, okay, I'm probably going to regret asking this, but why is everyone upset about The Last of Us 2? Keep in mind, I know nothing of gaming or gamer culture. That's what the fuck I said, y'all. So now let's move back over here as I talk about that. What? I went too far. I'm back. So here's what I was able to suss out. Here are the main fucking complaints. So complaint number 1. LGBTQIAZMXW representation going on. Apparently, you know, this does not seem to be, in fairness to the people criticizing this fucking game that isn't even coming out for like a month and a half, that doesn't seem to be the majority of them. You know, there's a few people that are like, ah, man, I'm tired of them shoving this fucking gay trans bullshit down my throat. But that doesn't seem to be the majority, but it is a sizable little chunk. Okay, gotcha. Number 2, and I didn't actually see anyone make this argument, at least not in the responses to me, but I did hear people saying that they saw other people saying similar stuff. they did say that the chicks, that is to say the women in the game, are insufficiently hot and therefore difficult to fap to. Now, I don't really buy there's too many people going around saying this, because I remember the original Last of Us, and I don't remember it being like filled to the brim with hotties or anything, right? So it seems like this wasn't really the kind of game that was going for that kind of like big tits, big butts kind of audience. So I don't really buy that that's all of a sudden an issue with the second game, when I never heard a fucking peep about it in the first game, which looked pretty much the goddamn same. So those are the two kind of like super right-wingy kind of maybe criticism. I guess the hot chicks thing is not necessarily right-wing. The anti-LGBTQ stuff is certainly a right-wing criticism. But then there's some more substantive criticisms I actually can fucking relate to a little bit. So, number 3. According to leaks that were apparently leaked by a disgruntled employee of Naughty Dog, who is the developer of this game, apparently the leaks suggest that the plot of the game concerns killing off the protagonist of the previous game, and then you then control the character who does the killing. And I guess I was kind of confused on this point. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but then I guess you go and you kill other characters from the original game. So it's kind of like, you know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the proposed Kill Bill Volume 3, where the little black girl who saw her mom die at the beginning takes her revenge on the bride. That was Quentin Tarantino's proposed idea for a sequel to Kill Bill. Kill Bill Volume 3 would concern that girl seeking out the bride for revenge. So it's almost like the hero of the previous film is now the villain of the new film. You know, so it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. And I kind of always thought that, you know, that was a cool idea for Kill Bill Volume 3. But I mean, that's a different world with a different sort of narrative structure and different sort of setup and stuff. So I don't know that this is necessarily the same. Now, I haven't played the original Last of Us, so I don't necessarily know how I'd feel about this sort of artistic choice. But it kind of seems to me like maybe people were meant to experience those events like within the due course of the game, and not through some sort of plot leak, you know, where you just like a lot of good plots to well-made films and video games and other media would probably sound stupid in a synopsis. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you actually have to like give the movie a chance to sell you on an idea that may fucking rub you the wrong way when you initially hear it. And I feel like it's the same with this game. Like, even if you think that's a weird plot choice, shouldn't you kind of see how it unfolds within the narrative of the game? Because, you know, maybe just like when I'm feeding you a synopsis, it's like, oh, that sucks. But maybe in the course of the game, it's like, wow, that's actually really poignant. I see what they're doing there. Just a possibility. I don't fucking know. So number 4 thing, I think we're at number 4. Yeah, we're number 4. The director of the game, a guy named Neil Druckmann, which I swear does not sound like a real fucking human being's name. Sounds like a fucking cartoon character. Maybe that's because of the similarity to Duckman. You guys ever watch Duckman? It's kind of an aside, but that's an underrated fucking cartoon. Actually was a kind of a trailblazer for adult animation. Whatever. You should check it out if you haven't. Neil Druckmann, I guess, is friends with Anita Sarkeesian, who I guess he takes her sort of like media criticisms of especially the video game industry like really to heart, I guess. And he's trying to make a game that would please those sorts of sensibilities. You know, I mean, like, he's the fucking director of the game, right? And I looked it up. Like, it's not like this dude just came in there and like usurped the process of this fucking game. He was a creative director and a writer on the previous game. So, I mean, like, he was heavily involved with that one. And, like, apparently you guys liked that, and it turned out all right. I don't know. I mean, like, there's plenty of people who make art of any kind who I disagree with them, or even, like, disagree with the message of their art, but still fucking enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get to it a little bit later, but, like, the other night I watched Death Wish 3. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more fucking conservative, pro-punitive justice sort of, like, movie than Death Wish 3. Like, a lot of my core values of, like, rehabilitation and, like, understanding the root causes of social ills, that movie basically just takes off its pants, bends over those ideals, and takes a big, smelly shit all over them. But you know what? I fucking love that movie. Because it's fun. Like, it doesn't agree with me. Its politics are completely opposite to my own. But I still like it. Because, like, who gives a shit, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, last time I was doing one of these shows, I lectured you guys about how free speech doesn't really matter if people don't listen to each other. If people don't engage honestly with opposite points of view. So this would be maybe an example of that. Like, okay, he's friends with Anita Sarkeesian. We don't like what she has to say. I've made a shit ton of videos against her, and I stand by pretty much every word. Maybe there'd be like a thing or two I've moved on. But, I mean, I watched some of them just today to make sure I could make this statement. But I stand by my fucking criticisms of Anita Sarkeesian. But just because, I mean, I don't care. Like, one of the things I always said to fucking Anita, and then I heard others say to her too, is like, yeah, well, if you don't like it, why don't you make your own fucking game? Well, it seems like she's not doing it, but she's influencing someone who is, and now it's like, how dare you? Like, good. If she should have a game with her fucking sensibilities. I have no problem with that. My problem was when she tried to control what other people were doing. When she tried to say, no, this kind of thing is wrong or bad or whatever. Okay, if it's wrong or bad and you don't like it, create your own fucking art that reflects your fucking values. And it seems like that's happening, and now the fucking goalpost has been moved like, oh no, it's bad now. We don't like it no more. Come on. So number 5, and this is probably the most valid of the fucking criticisms. Naughty Dog, the developer, is apparently notorious for overworking its employees, making them work long, dangerous, miserable hours in what's called a crunch to try to finish games on time, you know? They don't push back the release. They're like, we got to get it out by this time and this date. You know, so we got to fucking just like work all night, every day, like work on the game, and then come home and, sleep for 6 hours, then get right back here and fucking work on the game some more. Work 7 days a fucking week, 16 hours a day, whatever the fuck. And the fucking, I mean, my understanding of the culture over there is just that it's like a toxic environment of a bunch of overworked people who are just like pressured from every angle in every direction to work constantly to fucking get this shit out. No human being should be expected to work under those fucking conditions. So that's fucking ridiculous. They deserve every ounce of that fucking criticism. And I've read articles about this, and it appears that this accusation is 100% true. So many of their employees have come forward and talked about this very toxic culture of being overworked and slave-driven to get these fucking games out in a timely manner. And it's preposterous. I'd rather they take another year to put out a fucking game and not overwork their employees to the to death, or to the bone, or whatever expression you want to use. But of course, I say that as someone who doesn't I have no plans to play the fucking game. So maybe if I was like waiting for this game and like anticipating it heavily, I'd feel differently. But I mean, like, I don't understand I don't understand why anyone would be complaining about this unless they're looking forward to the game. And if they're looking forward to the game, then what's with all these other criticisms? Another thing that Naughty Dog has done that's kind of lame is that they've been DMCAing channels that report on the leaks. Not people who are leakers themselves, which I can kind of understand them taking legal action against the leakers, but taking legal action against people who report on the leaks, it's really fucking bizarre. And it's just not a great PR move. So anyway, that's kind of like where I'm at on that stuff. But one of the things this did do for me is it prompted probably the dumbest private message, direct message I've ever gotten on Twitter, which I'm going to show you now. Oh, shit, I spilled this fucking coffee on me. It's what happens when you try to fucking walk and chew gum at the same time. All right, let's check this out. So this is a guy who wrote me. I guess I should hop off the screen here, or maybe I can move myself somewhere else so you can see better what the fuck is going on here. Here, I'll move myself up in this corner here. Or maybe a little lower than that. That looks weird. Okay. So check this out. Why would you ask about Last of Us 2? I said, I keep seeing stiff. I meant to say stuff. I keep seeing stuff about it and was curious what was going on. And the guy says, don't ask questions if you can't handle the answers. Excuse me? What? Don't ask questions if you can't handle the answers? What the fuck does that mean? What answers couldn't I handle? I mean, I get it. In the wording of the original thing, I said, I'm probably going to regret this. But when I said I'm probably going to regret this, what I meant is I'm sure there's going to be a shit ton of stupid fucking arguments in the comment section of this tweet, and that's going to be pretty annoying to deal with for the next few days. I wasn't like afraid the answers to my question about like, hey, what are your guys' issues with Last of Us 2? I wasn't like afraid that was going to like, oh my God, you just blew my fucking mind. Ah! No! I can't even process the answers to this question. Don't ask questions if you can't handle the answers. It's like something Batman would say or some shit. What the fuck, dude? Fuck off. This guy is the biggest fucking dork on the face of the earth. I want to just go back to high school days and fucking like go to school with this guy and give him a fucking wedgie and shove him into a locker. I never did that in my high school days, but that's because I didn't know this fucker here. What answers was he alluding to? I have no fucking idea. I have no idea. Like, which of the answers did he think was going to just, like, be too much for my fucking mind? You know what I mean? Let's check it out here. So let me just let's go through it. So people don't like, there's some people who don't like the LGBT representation. Is my mind blown about that? Let's see. No. Insufficient hot chicks to fap to, not blown. The leaks suggesting that the people didn't like the new direction with the fucking characters and shit. Nope, mine's still not blown. The director being friends with Anita Sarkeesian, is that blowing my mind? Is that too much for me to handle? Nope. Naughty Dog treating their employees like shit? Is that too much for me to handle? It pisses me off, I'll be honest with you about that. But is it too much for my fucking little tiny pea brain to handle? Nope. Is the fact that Naughty Dog is DMCAing people who talk about these leaks, is that blowing my mind? Also, no. None of it's blowing my mind to even the tiniest degree. So I don't know what this fucker's idea is that like, oh my God, I can't even process what's going on here. This is just too much for me. I'm overwhelmed. No. Okay, whatever. Personal fucking grievance aside, who gives a shit? Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about a smart DM, because I also got a pretty intelligent DM recently. And this is a guy, he's reacting not to that tweet, but he's reacting to something I said in a previous stream. I was talking about art and censorship. And if you haven't seen that, you can go back in time and, oh, thanks, Chelsea. That's nice of you. You guys can go back and check that one out. I'm not going to fucking reiterate the same points again. You can go fucking watch the previous stream if you really care about that. So anyway, this guy says, not really expecting you to look at this message, but you never know, you know? I didn't say the grammar was impeccable. I said the overall sentiment was intelligent. So here's what he said. All I want to say is this. Pointing out the implicit messages in a piece of art. Oh, I should probably switch cameras, huh? Pointing out the implicit messages in a piece of art that might be harmful does not equal advocating for that art to not exist or controlling what an artist is allowed to do. These critiques are not morally condemning the art, the artist, or the person consuming the art. It's just pointing out that something exists. You can disagree with those critiques without strawmanning the people making them. I still love your vids and have been a fan for a long time, even though I've gone more SJW. Cheers. Interesting points being brought up there. This is the kind of fucking disagreement I like. You know why I like this kind of disagreement? I think it should be obvious, but I'll tell you anyway. The reason I like that kind of disagreement is because it makes a fucking point. It presents an argument. You know, it's not just, you wrong, can't handle the truth, can't handle the questions, buddy. Can't handle the answers to the questions you ask. Some incoherent nonsense. No, it's a real fucking goddamn response to something I goddamn said. So let's break it down. I guess the first question we need to ask is, does criticism equal censorship? Hold on. I need to get like a pen or something. I know there's one around here. A colored pencil will do. All right. The primary question I think that's being asked there, or the statement that's being made, is that criticism is not censorship. And I agree for the most part with that notion. But I got some fucking caveats. I got some caveats with what was said, all right? Because of the specific language of, and I'm just going to read, I'm not going to put it on the screen again, but I'll read it. Pointing out the implicit messages in a piece of art that might be harmful does not blah, 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 blah. So the word harmful is kind of the crux of this to me. Because I don't know how we define harmful. I don't know how we define harm, and I think that it kind of puts a distinction between this and other fucking forms of criticism. Because, like, if I watch what I think is, like, a shitty movie, you know what I mean? Like, Rise of Skywalker. I thought that movie fucking sucked. I thought it was one of the worst goddamn cinematic experiences I've ever fucking had. But I don't think it was harmful, other than to my brain cells and to my childhood nostalgia and love for Star Wars. Other than that, though, I don't think there was anything in that movie that's, like, deleterious to society in general, you know? My criticisms are like, this is a totally incoherent plot, the characters are paper thin, blah, 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 blah. So, like, I have criticisms of the movie that do not have anything to do with it being harmful, and therefore do not sort of imply that there's a necessity that we do something about it. Because if you're going to say a piece of media is harmful for X, Y, or Z reason, that implies that you think on some level that X, Y, or Z should be curtailed, disallowed, or at the very least heavily and strongly discouraged. Which is kind of a form of censorship. You know, like when you fucking make it so uncomfortable for a work of art to exist, that's tantamount to censorship. And we've seen it before. You know, we've seen so many examples. We saw a recent example up in Alaska recently when a bunch of fucking uptight, fuddy-duddy, school council kind of people, not the student body council, but like, you know, the teachers or like the faculty of the school or whatever, the education board, I don't know who the fuck, but they made a decision to remove a bunch of the books from the school curriculum, like The Great Gatsby, you know, like, oh my God, it's so offensive. You know, oh, because it's harmful. Oh, this harms the students. Like saying something is harmful, not just like saying something is bad just means, hey, this particular piece of art didn't work for me. Saying something is harmful kind of implies that like this is having a negative effect on people and maybe we should do things to stop it. It's like the first step of the justification for censorship, if it's not censorship in and of itself. And it creates an environment where the artist doesn't feel free to express certain points of view. That's the point about this idea of harm. So I wanted to ask some questions about how we define what harmful is in terms of art. And I realized that there's all these different artistic and, well, not artistic, there's like ideological lenses through which people look at content, right? I don't know that we can necessarily escape our own perspective on what art is. Like, let's go back to the very first edition of Anita Sarkeesian's series, tropes versus women in video games, right? It was Damsels in Distress, part 1 and 2. Those were our first 2 entries, and they're basically one video that just kind of continues. It's broken into 2, but it's basically one thesis. So she looks at the damsel in distress trope, or the damsel in distress plot device, as I prefer to call it, but you can call it a trope. It doesn't really matter. We don't need to get into fucking semantical bullshit here. But the damsel in distress trope, everyone knows what that is, right? I don't need to fucking explain what the damsel in distress trope is, do I? I guess I can really briefly do it. So it's when a female character is abducted and the male character has to go rescue her. Mario has to go rescue the princess. Link has to go rescue the other princess. There's a bunch of games that have this premise, bunch of movies, bunch of whatever. Lots of fucking stories have the premise of, oh no, the damsel's in distress. The hero's got to go rescue her. The hero being typically male, the damsel being typically female, blah, 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 blah. So, why does that happen? So if you watch Anita Sarkeesian's video on it, she has her interpretation. And her interpretation of the damsel in distress trope through the ideological lens of feminism is, this is depriving these female characters of agency. This is preventing these female characters from being heroes in their own right. Because they have no power over their situation. It's basically just an excuse for the male protagonist to fight the typically male antagonist. And, in the game of patriarchy, the woman is not a player. She's the fucking ball. She can't escape her own situation. It's just like, oh, she doesn't have agency. She doesn't have choice. She's just an object to be gained by men, blah, blah, blah. Taken away from a man like a piece of property, and then the man has to go recover his property. That's the feminist, or at least a feminist, because I don't want to, feminism is not super monolithic. There's different variants and all that stuff. But the Anita Sarkeesian brand of feminism, that's the lens through which she sees that damsel in distress trope. So, but let's turn it around. Let's change the lens. Remove the feminism lens. Let's put the incel and MGTOW lens on there. What do they see when they see something like the damsel in distress trope? I see how it is. The woman gets into trouble, and then it's up to the man to do all the work, and face all the adversity to go save her, when she's just acts totally helpless, doesn't take any initiative for herself, and then the man's got to go on this long, arduous quest. What is this game teaching us? It's teaching us that we should just be slaves to these women. And that if she so much as stubs her toe, we got to be there to kiss it. Oh, poor baby. Right? That's like a MGTOW sort of lens, or an incel sort of lens. And then there's like the lens I would look at it through. I don't know that my lens has an ism attached to it, but when I see a damsel in distress trope, I think like, hey, this is relatable to me, because if someone like burst in here and like grabbed Chelsea and just like kind of took her away, like, ha ha ha, your wife is ours now, you're damn right I'm gonna fucking do whatever's in my power to fucking stop that and to get her back, right? Because to me, it's just a convenient fucking easy plot device, especially for these really like basic early sort of like NES games where there's not like these giant, long, huge cutscenes. It's like, it's really easy to understand. Here I am with my girl. Oh no, they took my girl away. I gotta go save her. because I love her, right? So, I mean, that's 3 different fucking ideological lenses you can look at this damsel in distress thing through. Which one's the right lens? There isn't one. There's not a correct fucking lens. There's just different fucking lenses. And I'm sure there's different lenses even than the 3 I provided. So there's multiple different ways of looking at it, and there's no definitive answer to which one is fucking correct. There's just different ideas. Because guess what? People process art in different ways. I'll tell you a fucking embarrassing story about Chelsea. You know, like Mulan, right? The big female empowerment movie, you know? It's all about girl power. Oh, she's gonna fucking take on the sexist, patriarchal Chinese bullshit. She's gonna take up her sword. She's gonna fight for her country, and she's gonna prove herself a goddamn hero. Even though she's a woman in a time when women are discriminated against and expected to be demure and submissive, she's anything but. My wife, Chelsea, she saw that movie as a little kid. And you know what her takeaway was? Mulan is fucking scary. I'm scared of Mulan. I don't want to fight that bitch. I don't want to fuck with that bitch. She's crazy. She's too tough. She's too powerful. You never fucking know how art is going to be perceived by the audience. People are going to bring all sorts of different shit into that fucking work of art with them. The second that you create a work of art and present it to someone else, it's no longer yours. It becomes theirs. Because what it means to you as the creator and what it means to them as the viewer and what it means to someone else as a different viewer, that's all different shit. There's as many different perspectives on a work of art or entertainment as there are people to have perspectives. And everyone's going to bring different little neuroses and concerns and ideologies and so on and so forth into that. My problem with the fucking approach of someone like Anita Sarkeesian is just like, the feminist lens is right. I authoritatively declare that this is all bad and sexist and promotes bad things, and that's why we got to do something, you guys. Let's move on to the second question of that person's response to me on Twitter there. The second thing that I kind of think they bring up is, does criticizing a work as harmful imply moral condemnation of, 1, the work of art itself, 2, the artist, and 3, the consumer? Well, yeah, if you're saying it's harmful, then I think it necessarily does throw some moral condemnation. I don't see how you can say, like, harmful is a moralistic term in this respect. Like, okay, if I stab myself in the hand and I start to bleed, oh no, I've harmed myself, that's a concrete sort of harm. But when you're talking about the harm caused by a work of art, that's not so ironclad. It's not like you can't lift up a bloody hand and show it to the world. It's just like, hey, this person consumed this media, and then they came to these beliefs, and then they did X, Y, and Z things, or whatever. You can't, but it's the fucking connection is not as direct, okay? It's not as concrete where you can just say A equals B equals C. You know, because like I said, different people bring all sorts of different shit into a work of art. And the more vague or nebulous the work of art, the more fucking crazy interpretations people are going to come up with. So when you declare, hey, this work of art is harmful, you know, from my moral perspective, because you have to have a certain moral perspective to condemn a piece of art as harmful. When you say that, you are, by definition, condemning the work of art for sure, probably condemning the artist, and maybe condemning the consumer. It kind of just depends on how far you want to take that. But my conclusion, when I look at this person's comment to me, is, I'll just read it outright. I normally kind of just use this stuff I have in front of me as an outline, but this I'll just read. When moral weight is given to a particular ideological lens to the exclusion of other interpretations, that is a soft form of censorship. If your criticism of a piece of media is that it is harmful, the implication is that you want to stop that harm from taking place. Right? Because if you think something's harmful, why would you want to let it continue? Why? I mean, like, unless I mean, I guess you could be weighing it against different things, like it's harmful, but freedom of speech, or it's harmful, but whatever. You know, it's not harmful enough that we need to use the blunt instrument of censorship or whatever the fuck. But declaring that something is harmful is, if it's not censorship itself, if you don't buy that argument, it's at least the first step towards justifying censorship. And it's also kind of arrogant. Because it says to me, oh, I find this harmful. Well, my interpretation is the valid interpretation. I perceive this work of art more accurately than others can. And if they have interpretations other than my own, then they are naive, stupid, or somehow deranged, or whatever. So I think that there is a great deal of condemnation, of a moral nature inherent in labeling a piece of art as harmful. Maybe you disagree. And once again, Streamlabs and Super Chats are open. I always read them at the end of the show. But don't hesitate to send them in if you got something to say. We will be getting to all of them once I finish with my sort of prepared topics of the day. Now, I'd like to move on to something else that's related, but not quite in the same vein. There's a little bit of a difference. It's still basic top, whatever. You fucking judge for yourself. I don't give a fuck. All right. So let's take a look at something I saw on Twitter. This is a tweet that I found interesting from an account, Wash Your Hands, Ziatong something, May 4th. She asked the question, how differently would men see themselves if, as boys, they grew up with movies featuring them like this? And you see here sort of a gender-swapped cosplay of a female Han Solo and a male Leia. I guess it'd be a Prince Leia. I don't know. I when I created the thumbnail for this video you guys are watching, by the way, I had Schwarzenegger on one side of this guy, and I had Lara Croft from the Angelina Jolie movie on the other side, and my wife's is like, he's the hottest one. That dude in the middle, he looks the best. He's definitely the one that catches my eye. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the question, once again, how differently would men see themselves if, as boys, they grew up with movies featuring them like this? So the Britisher, who's more of, I guess, I don't want to label him. I think he's more right-wing, but I'm not 100% sure on what his exact political leanings are. But he shows a picture here of Arnold looking ripped, looking impressive, as Conan the Barbarian, and he's like, you were saying? You were saying? What about that, huh? What about that? All right, so let's talk about it. I think this is an interesting fucking discussion to be had here. So I know the automatic sort of feminist response to what the Britisher posted there, which is, well, look, Conan, he's a male power fantasy, right? Because Conan has, he's super powerful, and, Leia in the slave outfit is super powerless. Although, honestly, Leia's a bad example for this. Maybe we should address that first of all, because Leia actually went to Tatooine in that movie to save Han Solo, who himself was the damsel in distress in the situation. He was captured, he was frozen in carbonite and used as a fucking decoration on fucking Jabba the Hutt's wall. Leia comes to save him. Yeah, she gets put in a fucking slave outfit for like 5 minutes, but she quickly escapes and fucking strangles Jabba the Hutt with the chain that he had her on. So, you know, I mean, like, maybe she's not the best example of this. She's actually a pretty assertive, domineering sort of character who was actually there to save her fucking stupid fucking boyfriend, who was the one who got captured. So this is actually kind of an inversion of the trope already. But whatever, she's not the best example. But we understand the question, though. Like, leaving aside the fucking, you know, let's not take it overly literally. The question is, what if men constantly saw themselves, you know, being portrayed as just like these arm candy kind of sex object characters, and women were always portrayed as like the tough, competent, you know, whatever. Like, what effect would that have on the psychology of men and boys is the question. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of the Britishers' response. Because, you know, I know a lot of feminists will just dismiss it offhand and be like, this is bullshit, this male power fantasy, not even the same thing, not even in the same ballpark, which is really dishonest. And a lot of the fucking, you know, a lot of the anti-SJW crowd will look at the Conan thing and be like, yeah, dude, slam dunk, totally analogous in every way. Like most analogies, it works on some levels and it doesn't work on some levels, and we should look at both ways. So let's look at the pros and cons of the Conan the Barbarian sort of refutation of the woman's question there. So the pros of it are that men do feel pressure to live up to like near impossible standards. Like the fact that Conan the Barbarian is powerful, and that you know, I get it. Yeah, we like to fucking, yeah, what if I was like Conan? What if I was like super buff and super badass and, you know, I just could wander the land slaying fucking monsters and fucking getting pussy and whatever the fuck else. You know, like, yeah, it is a male power fantasy, but there is pain created by, hey, this is Conan the Barbarian and this is me. You know what I mean? Like, there is a fucking like, oh, wow, I fall so short of that in so many ways. That difference between myself and this idealized male gives me insecurity and causes me some measure of psychological pain, even if it is occasionally fun to escape into that fantasy. You know, just like, you know, women have the same issues where it's like they see like some super hot fucking stacked beauty that's fucking got money and wealth and whatever the fuck else. They look at that and feel insecure about it. Like, oh my God, you know, why can't I look like that? Why can't I fucking, you know, live that life? Why can't I, you know, we all have that. Unless you actually are one of those genetically and financially blessed people that just has it good in every fucking way, shape, or form. Like, I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm hot, I'm rich. That's a pretty fucking small percentage of the population, and it makes sense that the rest of us look at that and go, fuck me. What the hell is my life? You know, jealousy is a very natural human emotion, and it seems like when men feel it, it's like the most inconsequential, easily dismissed sort of emotion to have. When women feel it, we're supposed to have a fucking ticker tape parade. Like, oh, poor women, they can't be as attractive as they want. Unlike us men who are just all feel total fucking self-assuredness with our bodies. You know, it's a ridiculous fucking lie. You know, men do long for, you know, a better and more desirable physical appearance. I mean, like, look at the damn incels, for fuck's sake. It's weird that I'm mentioning them twice in the same video, but this is a group of fucking men who literally go to, like, forums and shit to sit around and complain about, like, why can't my chin be the right shape? Why don't I have a strong, angular jaw? And they're not taken seriously. I wasn't even taking them. I was mocking them just now. Can you imagine? But women don't get mocked like that for their fucking body insecurities. Society is doing everything in its power to be like, nah, girl, even though you don't look conventionally beautiful, you still beautiful to us, girl. Yeah, feel that power. Men don't get that at all. Men who have body image issues are just like, yeah, get out of here, slime. You disgust us. So that's the point I feel like the Britishers trying to make with that Arnold thing. But what are the flaws of the point? Because there's some problems too. And it does kind of hinge on the power angle. Conan is not a vulnerable character. A lot of the times women in media are portrayed not just as beautiful, not just as having unrealistically perfect bodies, but also being just kind of like, oh, help me, oh no, I need a big strong man to save me, So that's a valid point. I could see that fucking criticism. Once again, it's looking at it through just one particular lens, but I can see that. If I was a fucking woman, I can see watching that and being like, this is kind of patronizing to me a little bit. It makes sense. But hey, isn't there kind of like some flip side to that too? I know this is not a new sort of point to be made, but it bears repeating. What about the sitcom dad? What about every sitcom? And I know we don't have as many sitcoms floating around as we used to, but the stereotype is still there. The oafish dad. The dad who's just a bungling fucking moron, totally helpless. Everything he does blows up in his face. Every fucking scheme he comes up with fails. He's just a miserably incompetent wretch. And he doesn't even have the bonus of being like, yeah, but at least he's sexy. You know what I mean? They don't even get that. It's just like, you are a fucking stupid failure who sucks in every way, and your wife or your girlfriend or your whatever family you have are just like these suffering women around you who just put up with you, and they have to fucking grit their teeth and tolerate your fucking horrible stupidity and oafishness and sexism and backwards thinking and all this stuff. You're just horrible in every way. And they're perfect, and they always are right, and they always fucking warn you, don't do your stupid scheme, and then you do it, and it blows up, and they're like, I told you so. What about that? That's a thing too, right? And once again, these dudes don't even get to be sexy. It's not like Tim Allen from Home Improvement. Yeah, he's a dumb oaf, but, you could fap to him. You don't even get that benefit. What about a lot of the media intended for women? I remember being a kid watching a lot of this media that's intended for women because my mom, she'd watch these Lifetime original movies. Now, I don't know what Lifetime original movies are like today. I don't know if they've changed at all. But back when I was growing up, Lifetime original movies, you'd have an easier time finding a fucking needle on not a haystack, but a hay planet than you would finding a positive male role model in any of that shit. Every single man in a Lifetime original movie is the most deplorable, reprehensible, nasty, conniving, evil scumfuck to ever exist. And a lot of these girl power movies to this day are men are pigs, men are shit, men are scum, men are dogs, men are pigs, men are shit, men are scum, men are dogs, So, what I want to just ask is, let's return to the question here. My question is, when you're talking about how differently would men see themselves if, as boys, they grew up with movies featuring them like this, I'd have to ask, in that world, is there equivalence to the sitcom thing? Is it a world where every sitcom features a stupid, inept, moron mom and a smart, wise, always on top of things dad? Is that also the case in that world? And is male, is the little bit of media that's produced for men, is it all just super outright misogynistic, women are scum, women are dogs, women are pigs kind of stuff? Is that also the case in this hypothetical reality? Because I think that's an important question. It's an important clarifying question, I think. So, hold on, I need a drink. Let's go back to Death Wish 3, because I said I was going to talk about Death Wish 3 a little bit. So I was watching Death Wish 3, and there's a love interest. Now, I don't know, maybe I should explain the Death Wish movies a little bit. All right, so brief synopsis. Death Wish 1, there's a guy, he's a pacifist. He's a conscientious objector to the fucking Korean War and stuff. He doesn't want to, he's nonviolent. He doesn't believe in that. Then his family is raped and murdered. Wife and daughter, raped and murdered, whatever. I think one of them maybe survives in the first movie, and then she's killed in the second. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, family's killed. He's fucking sad, boo-hoo. And then he starts going on a revenge spree, and he becomes a vigilante and starts gunning down criminals in the street, and just like, all the pacifist shit I believed before is bullshit. It's time for me to gun motherfuckers down. And then that continues on for fucking like 4 more movies with increasingly ridiculous plots. But Death Wish 3, he meets a love interest, right? He meets a love interest, and it's obvious from the very moment he meets her, she's gonna die. And she's gonna, like, the only reason she's in this movie is so that she can die, so that he can have even more of a motive to kill these fucking scumbag villains who fucking took her life. And that's the thing, like, oh, the feminists, they don't like that. Because it's like, oh, wow, women are just these disposable characters that are just there to give a man his motivation. And I kind of saw that in that movie. I was like, well, there's kind of a fair point there. And then another time in the movie, a woman is raped and murdered. Well, she's raped to the point where she's so injured that she dies of her injuries. And by the way, she's played by Counselor Deanna Troi, and you totally see them titties. So if you've ever wanted to see Counselor Deanna Troi's titties, Death Wish 3, you're welcome. She's raped, she's murdered, and the only reason she was raped and murdered, the only reason she was in the plot, other than to probably get some more titties in the movie, was to motivate not even the main character, but to motivate the main character's like goofball comedy sidekick character. No, Maria, she's dead. Now I join you in your quest for revenge, It's like, oh, wow. They really are treating women as disposable in this. But then I kind of, after the movie was over, I kind of thought about it a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute, how many men died in that movie? And how many of the men who died in that movie, they weren't the impetus for someone's revenge. They weren't even that. They didn't even get the benefit of like, I will avenge you, They just died for our amusement as the audience, Hey, you die, criminal scum. You dare steal my fucking camera? Die. Yeah, finally, he's dead. No more camera thief. Woo! Dead. Kill him. Punishment for every crime should be death. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's no impetus for that. Like, there's no like importance given to that male life. It's just like totally disposable. There's like 50 dudes gunned down in that movie. Not a single tear is shed for any of them, except maybe the very first guy who dies, because he's like an old like war vet, and it's like, oh no, they killed the old war vet. Boo-hoo. This gives him some motive for revenge. So there was one dude who got killed just to give the main character a revenge motive, and 2 women who were killed for similar fucking reasons. But the men who were gunned down, by and large, their deaths didn't mean shit. Just action movie fodder for us to eat popcorn to. Oh, that dude fucking got his head blown off. You know what I mean? So like, shouldn't like, like, I understand the idea that like, well, maybe seeing women just used as like a female character just being unceremoniously killed just to give the protagonist some motivation. Like, can I see how that could potentially, like, a woman could look at that and be like, it's kind of fucked up. Sure. But how come no one ever says it's fucked up when a bunch of fucking dudes are just mowed down? Like, did they have families? Did they have loved ones? Did anyone care about them? Like, is their mama gonna get a call on the phone tonight? Like, sorry, Tyrone's dead. Oh, Lord. You know what I mean? Like, we don't see that fucking dimension of things. We're not even invited to contemplate it to the smallest fucking degree. Because men in a movie, unless they're like some sort of protagonist character, utterly disposable. Like, how many dudes does John Wick kill? Like, how many fucking people are mourning those dudes? Like, how many fucking, mothers, sisters, fathers, brothers, uncles, cousins? Like, how much misery is created every time Keanu Reeves' character pulls the trigger? We're not even invited to contemplate that. Right? Right. So, once again, going back to the original question, I hate to follow it up with a bunch of questions, but are women in sitcoms in that hypothetical reality also shown as inept retards? Are women's lives in this reality that you talk about here in this little thing? Are women's lives in that world treated as disposable in movies? Like, is in that cinematic reality, do we see like countless women just getting gunned down frequently? Is that like a big thing where it's like we're not even invited to care about them? They're just seen as like disposable fodder for an action scene? Is that a reality in that world too? Are women who are featured in like men's only movies, is like outright misogyny allowed? Or sorry, misogyny allowed, where it's just like, hey, every fucking female character on Lifetime men's television is a total fucking cunt bitch from hell who just like has no goodness in any fucking fiber of her being? Are the insecurities of women in that world viewed as being totally unimportant? Are women constantly criticized by like ideological meninists who have all these fucking academic criticisms of like media and stuff and how it's harmful? Or is it just that's reversed? Is it just like men are sexy or sex objects in movies and women are cool, badass, empowered people? You know what I mean? Like, is that the only thing that's different, or are all of the roles switched? Because that's two very different answers. Now, I'm going to assume that you're talking about a world in which all that is switched, where, women in sitcoms are shown to be stupid, and women are shown to be disposable, and women are shown to be scum, and women are shown to be, their insecurities are not treated as if they matter, and, they're constantly criticized by fucking ideological meninist fucking groups and stuff. Like, if that's the world we're talking about, then my answer to you as to how things would be different or how men would see themselves in that world, I really just think everything in the world would be pretty much the same, except the shoes would be on opposite feet. Other than that, I think you're dealing with essentially the same fucking planet. So, let's do something unpopular. Let's talk about biology. Uh-oh. This is where you get in trouble. When you talk about biology, uh-oh. I'm not a scientist, but, we should ask the question, why is the world the way it is? And, I'm not here to deny that some of it's, like, constructed. Some of it's a social construct. Some of it's cultural, blah, 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 blah. But not all of it is. There's some certain biological realities. And, by the way, we'll start with one that's not too pleasant for men. We'll start with one that's not too pleasant for the men in the audience, which it's my audience, so most of you guys are guys, which is fine, which is cool. Why are men seen as more disposable than women? Because it's not just in movies, right? Like, we're the ones who are drafted. Like if there's a draft, women are not required, even though they're allowed to serve in the armed services at this point, they are not required to register for the draft. Only men are. So men are treated as more disposable. We fought most of the wars. The murder rate of men is sky high compared to the murder rate of women, so on and so forth. Men are just generally viewed as more disposable than women. Why the fuck is that? Well, there's probably a lot of reasons, and some of them are cultural and some of them are biological, but here's a fucking argument that even the simplest mind on earth could fucking understand from a fucking biological perspective, the perspective of nature. I've talked about it before, but I'll talk about it again. So, let's say you got a small village, right? Let's say it's like the Civil War is happening. Small fucking village, okay? They send all their men off to fight the war. And it's just one of these villages that just gets fucking devastated. Everybody fucking dies, you know? So let's think about this. You got to rebuild the population, right? So if you have to rebuild a population, what is it better to have? 99 women and 1 man, or 99 men and 1 woman? So if you have 99 women and 1 man, that man can impregnate all those women. I mean, probably not all of them. Probably some are going to have, you know, some sort of reproductive difficulties and stuff. But presuming that they're all fertile and healthy and stuff, he can impregnate all of them. 99 women, that's 99 buns in the oven, maybe a few twins or triplets going on. He can impregnate them all, and we can get the fucking human race going again. So, what about the reverse? 99 men and 1 woman. Uh-oh. Not only is it going to be, not only can she only give, you know, have 1 pregnancy at a time, so you have a much slower rate of reproduction, but also, on top of that, those men are probably going to fucking kill each other trying to decide who gets the 1 woman. You know, depending on the fucking era, context, whatever. So there's a very simple arithmetic sort of reason why nature treats men as being way more disposable. You see it not just in humans, but in all kinds of species, right? Like in bees and stuff, like the man only exists to fertilize the woman. The man's created, male bees created, they fertilize, they die. I think their dicks actually rip off when they try to pull out, and they just fucking die from, like, I don't know if it's like bleed to death or whatever the fuck, but their dicks come off and continue to inseminate the female, and then they just die, you know? So nature is kind of like, looks at men like, whatever, well, you know, you're just fucking, you're shit. So that's not great for men. Men, though, here's an advantage we got. By and large, physically, bigger, stronger. That's a big one, right? Especially when you're talking about the pre-modern world, before, you know, industrialization and modern technology and modern sort of ideas about gender and all this other stuff. You know, when you're talking like caveman days, you know, Thag stronger, Thag have big rock, you know, that kind of shit is a lot more useful. So that kind of addresses a few things, right? And then, and, you know, don't take my word on this. Do some Google foo on this, but men are way more easily aroused by visual stimuli than women are. Women, they need more of a fantasy. They need more of like a social context for what's going on. And this is generalization stuff here, but scientific studies have shown men, by and large, are way more likely to just see a girl with fucking the right bot, and maybe not even a girl. Like gay dudes, still more turned on, like by just pure visual stimuli. Like, oh, I like that dude. That's a nice big dick. I enjoy seeing that. I am aroused now. Oh, that's a nice pair of titties. I enjoy that. I am aroused now. That's a nice pair of titties and a big dick. I am into futanari and I am aroused now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's way more visual. And that's just, you can look that up. I'm not making that up. I'm not trying to fucking be like that. But that's why there's way more eye candy made for men, because we're a lot more likely to fucking pick it up and eat it. We're a lot more likely to be like, damn, she fine. I'm going to check this out. You know what I mean? I'm going to go see that movie because that chick has nice tits. I'm going to play that game because that fucking girl you can play as is hot. Men are way more likely to give into that thought process than the other way around. So we're way easier to market to with sexuality. Anywho, I am now going to totally change topics. I think I've done enough of this gender shit. I did want to look at a video for the Space Force. Because, you know, Trump's doing his Space Force, and we got our first recruitment video. I think we should check that out, huh? Someone in the chat says, with women, it's visual too. You think that you want to fuck fat, ugly dudes? Yeah, I do. You know, I know that because I've fucked women before, and I'm a fat, ugly dude. Yeah, it's not nearly as much of a detriment to be a dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying women don't have any sort of visual, like, yeah, obviously Brad Pitt or whatever. I mean, obviously not him so much anymore, but, you know, whatever. I'm way behind on, like, the culture, but there's a reason. Women are fucking turned on by visual stuff, too, but I'm saying by and large, not as much, and they need a little bit more context to it, like, ooh, he's a sexy vampire, and part of him wants to eat me, and part of him wants to fuck me, and I'm this whatever, you know, like, they have to put more fucking thought into a plot line for it. They're more turned on by the circumstances, you know? If the dude looks hot, that's a nice little bonus. Anyway, let's watch the Space Force ad.
Some people look to the stars and ask, what if? Our job is to have an answer. We have to imagine what will be imagined. Plan for what's possible while it's still impossible. Maybe you weren't put here just to ask the questions. Maybe you were put here to be the answer. Maybe your purpose on this planet isn't on this planet.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. Yes, indeed. So I'm of two minds about the Space Force, y'all. I'm sorry, but I kind of like the Space Force. You know, I know that, you know, I'm supposed to just hate everything and anything that Trump does. I'm supposed to just have a reactionary sort of, no, bad, oh, boo, Trump did it, it's bad. But I like the Space Force. Sorry, I do. I believe that being stuck on this planet is an existential threat to the human race. And that's just, I mean, we've had tons of different mass extinction events in the history of this planet. I think there's been like 6 or 7 that are documented throughout fucking like the fossil record and stuff. Just mass extinction events. The planet is volatile. You know, a giant meteor could hit us. A fucking global pandemic could happen. You know, like obviously we're in one right now, but I mean like something way worse than this. Like, you know, 99% wiped out, you know, populace or something. Maybe even 100%. Who fucking knows? There could be something just so volatile it just kills us all. So I believe being stuck on just this one planet is an existential threat to humanity. And if you have any interest whatsoever in seeing the human race continue on and on, you know, in perpetuity for as long as we possibly can and achieving as much fucking knowledge and supremacy over, you know, the forces of nature as possible, then I think you necessarily have to say that, you know, that we have to take the step of like, let's get off this rock. Let's not be stuck here. You know, I'm also just personally enamored with space exploration. And I think that this is, you know, probably influenced somewhat by me being a fan of Star Trek. Now, I don't think that real life space exploration is going to be like Star Trek, where we get to go around and fucking morally proselytize to all the fucking stupid aliens who haven't put their differences aside the way we have. I find it funny, by the way, as somewhat of an aside, that so many human beings are so interested in like, man, what if we made first contact with aliens? That'd be so cool. Like, we don't even get along with other human beings who are like, uh-oh, that human being is a different skin tone than me. I'm not sure I trust him, but we're gonna fucking get along famously with like, I am Gilgamesh, you know, with the fucking 29 tentacles, 15 nipples that all lactate fucking battery acid. Like, we're gonna fucking be fine with that when we can't even fucking, like, I don't like Jose, you know, he's too fucking Mexican for my taste. Like, I don't know that we're necessarily ready to make contact, but I hope we do, you know. Could be good for us. Maybe that at least will unite us as a species. Maybe we'll be like, you know what, Jose isn't so bad anymore now that I've seen, you know, let's hate the aliens, you know. Another thing is just there's resources in space. we're running out of certain resources here on Earth. Maybe we could find them out in the stars. Maybe we could find new resources that the conditions on this planet aren't right for, that we could fucking find uses for in industry or technology or something. So there's resources up there that are just waiting for humanity to fucking exploit them. Another thing is there's answers out there, like scientific inquiry, like, maybe we get to the point where we understand really, like, what a black hole is. Like, we can send a probe into one or something like that. You can never get to that point if you don't take the first step of actually getting out there among the stars. Now, I understand that that's a long fucking way away from today, if ever that day comes, but you never get there if you don't take those first steps. So I think that, putting some serious money into a space force is not a terrible idea. Don't really understand what was wrong with using NASA to do that stuff, but whatever. This is the problem I have with it, is like, this is America basically trying to plant its flag on the cosmos, right? Like, space is pretty fucking vast, last I checked. Like, Earth is but like a little tiny, insignificant, little tiny speck in the grand scheme of things. The cosmos is like infinitely vast in comparison to our insignificant little speck of shit planet, right? And yet America thinks we're going to fucking plant our flag into the stars. Like, this belongs to us now. Same thing we did with the moon. Like, we get to the moon and we're like, yeah, we claim the moon for America. Fuck you, rest of the planet. Like, shouldn't we, if we're going to go to the stars, like, unite as one people first? Maybe this is, once again, the Star Trek shit talking. But, like, I don't believe that this particular little patch of dirt has the right primates to just be like, yeah, the primates on this patch of dirt claim all of space for themselves, and the rest of the primates on the rest of the surface of the planet are just going to have to make do with our utter and complete supremacy over the stars. What? Like, talk about arrogance and conceit on an unprecedented and almost unfathomable fucking level. Also, the idea that space needs to be militarized is pretty disconcerting. Like, instead of going to the stars for the betterment of all humanity, we're just going to turn it into another battleground. Like, yeah, man, I'm sure glad we fucking established a moon base before the Chinese. It's just dumb to me. And, the other problem is that militarism and commercialism go hand in hand. And, of course, we have some private industry interests going into space as well. So I'm really concerned about space becoming just another commercialized destination. Like, what are we going to do? Litter the cosmos with our fucking billboards for fucking tooth whitener and shit? Like, Like, can't we fucking, for once, allow some fucking grandeur and some majesty and maybe a fucking sense of like, hey, now that we're exploring the cosmos, I can look at our planet and see like, hey, all of human history unfolded on this little pale blue dot. Like, get that Carl Sagan perspective going a little bit and say like, maybe all this fucking bullshit fighting about nations and ethnicities and whatever the fuck else is just a bunch of nonsense distracting us from our greater destiny. I don't know. You can say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Anywho, it's time once again to turn to the Streamlabs and the Super Chats. So we don't need to switch to that view. We just need to switch the camera. Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at what we got going on from our friends on the Streamlabs and the Super Chats and the so-ons and the so-forths. All right. Donation history. Start with the donations here. All right, what's today? It's the 7th. So, Tucker White 94 gave $5 and left a string of gibberish. Thank you so much. Evan W68 says, I think some of these people must believe that all these super chats are all bots or involved in a conspiracy to fool us that this is live. I need to program the bots not to say stuff like that anymore because it's kind of giving away the game. Blue Ink gave $6.67 to be cheeky and said, I just changed my bong water for the first time in over a year. The smell reminded me of when I drank bong water tea and watched Pink Flamingos. Have you seen that movie? Charming as hell. No, I haven't watched Pink Flamingos, but I do know about the infamous poop eating scene, dog poop eating scene. So maybe that's why I haven't watched it. I don't know. Lily S gave $1 and says, do you plan on watching Parasite? It's on my to watch list. Nabbles says, hey, TJ, if you think animal agriculture is terrible, why don't you go vegan? If you won't be vegan because everyone else eats animals at the moment, that's an appeal to futility. And if animal agriculture wasn't so cruel, do you think it's morally justified to kill and eat animals? Yes, I do. I have a dog that my dog's name is Salvador. He's pretty awesome. But the other night, he fucking straight up murdered a possum just for coming into our yard. And you know why? Nature is brutal. Animals kill each other all the time. Human beings are animals. I don't see why we should separate ourselves from the fucking great continuum of nature. But factory farming is horrible and it pollutes, and we probably should eat less meat. I don't think we should eat no meat. I personally eat meat for enjoyment. I enjoy eating meat. I enjoy cooking with meat. I've been trying to incorporate more vegetarian meals in my eating habits because I think it is important to eat less meat, and I think it's important to reform the meat industry, but I'm not morally opposed to the very concept of eating meat. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered, that is all. Well, today his murderers were charged with murder, so you should be happy about that. Maybe not so happy about the timetable it took to happen. An idea guy gave $2 and said, I love the Hypotheticals episodes, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. Will Ball or Scooter host one in the future? I have no idea if they're going to do their own. But if they do, I'm boycotting because they stole my idea. No, I'm not. Repulse Revolt gave $10, says almost 20 and still haven't gotten laid yet. It's because I'm not an outgoing person at all, even though I'm trying to change that. And I didn't leave the house even before the quarantine. I'm not blaming the world for me not trying hard enough. Well, that's good. And look, 20 is not that big of a deal. I mean, you'll be fine. Let it happen in its own natural due course of time. You don't have to fucking rush into anything. It's not a big deal. You're going to be just fine. All right, now I need to go find the beginning of these. Sorry. Now we're going to look at the super chats. Mr. Naughty Priest gave $100. Thank you very much, Mr. Naughty Priest. Says, hi, TJ. I'm keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep drinking and watching. I'm concerned for you, Mr. Naughty Priest, but thank you. At least every $100 you give me is $100 less you can spend on booze. So maybe you should just trust your money with me. I don't know. Chad Williams gave $5, says, TJ, where's my butt gif? I don't know. It should have popped up when you gave that, and I'm assuming it probably did. Finton Bork gave $2.29, well, not $2, €2.29. Are they still cents over there? I don't even know what the fuck. Haven't watched you in a while. You're looking well. Heart. Oh, thank you. Mr. Mojo Rising, 909, gave $2 and says, read any good books lately? Yeah, I've been reading The Stand again. I've been listening to it as an audiobook, and I've been enjoying it. I'm glad that finally Abigail Freewater, or whatever the hell her name was, is finally dead, because I hate that character. Serve the Flesh gave $3 and says, why did you renounce libertarianism? I decided it was untenable. I got tired of asking libertarians, like my fellow, the fucking roads argument, like, who's going to build the roads? It's the most basic question that libertarians are frequently asked, and I struggle to answer it, so I asked my fellow libertarians, like, yeah, what's the answer to this question? And the answers they gave me were really fucking unsatisfying. So I pretty much was like, I don't know about this. And I kind of slowly drifted away. Another factor is, when I was a libertarian, I was living with my dad, and he was paying all the bills and all that other stuff. And, it's pretty easy to be some sort of stupid political ideology when, you don't actually have to live in the real world. But as soon as I lived in the real world, I was like, maybe some of the stuff maybe some of the shit I've been talking about, self-reliance, pulling yourself out by the bootstraps, is not so accurate. Maybe the world should be a little bit more equitable and fair. I'm a tall guy. One. Oh, and also just seeing the efficacy of programs like universal healthcare throughout the globe, and seeing how poorly our healthcare did in comparison. Anyway, I'm a tall guy. One gave $10. Says, hi TJ, I love you and your criticisms. Also, if you stop smoking cigarettes for a month, I'll give you $100. Not even close to being worth it. Corey Steegs gave $5 and says, I'm further to the right, but I love your show. You're intelligent, honest, refreshing these days. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you giving me the chance to change your mind and not being scared of exposing yourself to a different point of view. RZ, the legend, gave $1.99 and says, TJ, when did you become progressive/SJW? Well, I don't see how I'm SJW. I just criticized a lot of SJW talking points during the course of this very stream that you just watched. So I don't know why you're stupid like that, but whatever. Why am I progressive? Because that's where the facts have led me, sir. Thank you for your money. Ethan Davenport gave $5, says, listen to Mark Lanigan. Don't know who that is. Maybe I'll check it out. Probably not, because I'll forget the moment I'm not doing this anymore. Nabil Salah gave €5, or is that pounds? That's pounds. Hey, TJ, when you talk about you and Chelsea, do you actually believe cleaning is a woman's job? If you're joking, you need to be more obvious about it. Lol. I don't need to be more obvious about shit. You can fucking take from whatever you could interpret shit whatever you want. Like, if I'm in a relationship where I decide that that we decide where it's like you're gonna do most of the cleaning or whatever, that's like she does. Look, I'll be real. She does do most of the cleaning in the house. It's not because I think that's like woman's work or something, but I do all of the cooking. I mean, she cooks breakfast sometimes, but like dinner every night is on me. I cook every fucking dinner. I do a lot more fucking money-making kind of work and shit. So I think we have a pretty fair fucking arrangement, you know? I don't think that, you know, and honestly, if she was bringing home the income, would I be happy to fucking put on a sexy maid outfit and dust the fucking vanity or whatever? Hell yeah. She could sneak up behind me with a strap on and fuck me in the ass. I don't give a shit about your stupid gender roles. But in my particular relationship, yes, she does do most of the cleaning. Slanesh, follower 666, gave $4.99, says, what do you think of egoism and the ego? And it's owned by Max Stirner. I don't know. I've never read it. Nexus 8 gave $5, says, TJ, do you have any thoughts on Red Dead Redemption 2? No, I don't. Freakadelic gave $2, says, find End of Morality by TJ Kirk, go to 17 min 20 sec. Okay. Sergio Ribeiro gave $5 and says, DFF on Michael Jackson's sexual abuse allegations. What are your thoughts on the MJ allegations and Leaving Neverland? I've heard some pretty compelling arguments for and against that. So I'm not exactly sure. I guess I'm agnostic. Jennifer Rose gave $4.99, says, playing Final Fantasy VI, send me some positivity so I can defeat this next boss. All right. Wah, 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 positivity. It looks like I'm just trying to grab your tits, so I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do it like this. Woo, positive vibes. Woo. All right. D. Henry gave $2 Canadian and says actual points are better than reactionaries. Well, yeah. Downright Superb gave $5 and says we should all vote green to show Dems and Repubs how many votes are really on the table. You know, I personally, because I am in a red state, a solidly red state, am going to vote green. I think that people who are of a leftward-leaning bent who live in blue states, solidly blue states, might want to also consider voting green. I think people in swing states should probably bite the bullet and vote for Biden, though. Sean Lordo gave $19.99 and says, I know this is old news now, but how did you feel about the outrage about HBO's Watchmen show being woke? Do you think these people either didn't read the comic or were too stupid to pick up on the political themes? Now, I've not watched that show. I feel like I should attempt to answer it because you gave $19.99, but if I tried to answer it based on my current knowledge, it would be, I'd be totally just like faking my way through it because I don't know what happened on that show. I don't know what the nature of the criticisms of that show were. So I'd be totally doing a disservice to everyone in the audience if I attempted to answer that. But I feel bad that you gave $20 and I can't fucking come up with an answer. Maybe I'll look into it. D. Henry gave $2 Canadian as gender roles and double-edged swords. Okay. Oh, gender roles are double-edged swords. I'm sorry. Yeah, I could see that point. I think that's kind of a point I made here today, even if I didn't say those exact terms. Your mom gave $5. It says, I mean, the sitcom dads do have hot wives, and also the women in Lifetime movies tend to be portrayed as victims. Yeah, I mean, sure. J.D. Weber gave $5, says the Zeitgeist movement. I've always wanted to ask your thoughts about Peter Joseph's films and books. The Zeitgeist thing was around a lot in the early days of YouTube, so pretty much everyone was telling me to watch it, and I tried to watch it, and people tell me there's better later versions, but at least that initial version of it that I checked out was one of the dumbest things I've ever fucking watched in my life, if I'm honest with you. Bobby Lott gave $1.50 Canadian and then $1 Canadian. They didn't say anything. Pong Master Fong gave $10 and says, best male character I can think of is the main character of Space Cop. Can't remember his name, though. You should watch it sometime. Okay. It sounds like the kind of movie I'd watch, honestly. Space Cop. Bubbles the Monkey gave $19.99. You made a really good point about the different ideological lenses people view art through. I'm of the mindset that it's not up to the artist to play to the sensibilities of the audience because you'll never please everyone. Nor should that be, I think, in my opinion anyway, the purpose of art. Art should not just be about, hey, I'm going to give people what they want. Art should challenge people. It should, like one of the things I hate, and I didn't get a chance to bitch about it. I should probably bitch about it. This is kind of related, and I'll get back to answering those things in a minute. But when I asked the question, okay, I'm probably going to regret asking this, but why is everyone upset about The Last of Us 2? Keep in mind, I know nothing of this game of gaming or gamer culture. The first response that comes up anyway is a person who, in quotation, says subverts expectations. The new word for we hate what you liked and made oot better for you. The only coverage it deserves is a fucking tarp. R.I.P. So I hate the fact that subverting expectations is now viewed in like the negative sense. Like, no, you should always meet expectations. The audience is always right. No, the audience is not always right. And it's a good thing to subvert expectations. Now, sometimes you can subvert expectations in ways that are stupid. And, that should be called out and criticized and all that. But just like the very notion that trying to subvert expectations in and of itself is a negative thing, and that which implies that meeting expectations is a good thing, that's fucking antithetical to what art should be, because art should challenge people. Cynic gave $6.66, says, stay awesome, TJ, ramble on. Thank you very much. Bobby Lott gave another $1 in Canadian currency. Jacob Corneo gave $6.66. Bobby Lott gave $2. Pong Master Fong gave $5, says, if you had to spend isolation with either Jesse Lee Peterson or Alex Jones, which one would you choose? Also, did you have fun? I definitely want to spend it with Alex Jones over Jesse Lee Peterson. At least he could carry on a conversation. Jesse Lee Peterson, I would go crazy because that dude talks too slow for me. Tundras R gave $3 and says, time to kill off those space commu. Okay. Danielle Worley gave $19.99 and says, hey, TJ, how could I get you to shill a comic book I made about Bernie and the events of the 2016 election? Thinking of doing more, but with current events, I don't know. My Etsy is Joe Worley Art. Longtime fan. Keep up the good work. Let's go ahead and take a look at this dude's Etsy, I guess. Couldn't hurt, right? He gave $20. Let's see what his art's all about. I see his Etsy here. What's he got going on? I see you can look at the Bernie comic. Let's put that up here. Joe Worley art. Bernie, the Pied Piper, #1 by Joe Worley. Let's see. Can't really tell what's going on there. I mean, the art looks cool. I like the sort of like noirish vibe, but it's like color noir. So that's pretty cool. I like the use of like shadows and stuff. I like all the deep shadows that create like this like very like stark depth to the drawings. So I don't know. I mean, it looks kind of cool to me. I can't attest to how it's written or what the quality is, but if you really want me to do more of like a formal promotion of it, you can always write me on Twitter. My DMs are open as usual. What else we got? So, people need to stop obsessing over gender in art, says Godless Alphabet person who gave $3. Maybe you're right. I think that as long as gender is an area of confusion for people, there's always going to be a drive to examine it, and art is always going to gravitate towards issues that need to be examined. The Big Red Bear gave $5 Canadian, says, TJ, you're wrong. The best thing we can do is militarize space. Think of all the jobs it will create, and think how cool lasers in space will look. I mean, you got a fair point. Rick Nick gave $2 and says, are you going to watch Space Force on Netflix? No, it looks stupid to me. Johnny Topside gave $5, didn't say nothing, but thank him for the money. All right, let's go and visit our donation list again. Let's see if we got anything new there. Looks like we do have a few new things. What is all this? Did I really get this many new ones just in the last few minutes? Wow. Okay. Hold on. They started coming in like crazy over here on the donation section. Repulse Revolt gave $10 and says, one of my goals is to work on a team of biologists creating the ecological framework of a newly terraformed planet, such as Mars, Europa, Titan, etc., or beyond. That's awesome. I like people with lofty goals, which you definitely have. Ben Riley gave $6.66 and said, and Space Force is part of the DoD, NASA isn't. Yeah, that's kind of the point I was making. Tits McButts, beautiful name, gave $6.67. Tits McButts gave $1 and says, first random thing that comes to your mind when you think about the country of Poland. Thank you. I know a joke about Polish people. A Polish guy walks into his house holding in his hands a giant dog turd and says to his family, look what I almost stepped in. The joke being that Polish people are not too bright. I don't know if that's true. I don't mean to impugn Polish people. Zerdave gave $6.66. Been on and off fan, if I'm honest. Blah, blah, blah. Some drama bullshit. Came back from came back because I became a fan of Vosh and saw your conversation and inspired me to follow you again. So cheers. Cool. Great. Appreciate that. Appreciate the dono as well. Controde gave $5 and says, Earth is the best and only planet for our species in the entire universe, mostly because we've been evolving on Earth for the past 200,000 years. We shouldn't have to move to another planet. Well, people who want to stay on Earth can stay on Earth, but I think we should terraform other planets, we should work on that technology as soon as possible. Earth itself has many different atmospheres, and people have survived in like the frozen tundra and the barren desert and so on and so forth. So, I mean, Earth is not just one fucking ecology throughout. We have all kinds of different crazy environments. So I think that you're underestimating the adaptability of the human species. But thank you for the $5, and I appreciate your point of view. Alex Shepard gave $6.66, says, as a PhD student in Islamic studies, I see proposed hate speech legislation to curb free speech identical with blasphemy laws which plague the Islamic world. Enemies of free speech should Google Salman Taser, Ayatollah Montazeri, Salman Rushdie, and Pamuk. Okay. Thank you for your donation, and thank you for your perspective. Anonymous gave $2 and says, what's your advice to someone who hasn't been laid yet and just turned 30? I'm socially awkward, fuck that, struggles with social situations, and I'm just scared of human interaction, to be honest. I don't want to be a weirdo incel guy, but it do be getting lonely. Well, listen, I think maybe you need to do baby steps at this point. Like, don't necessarily focus on the ultimate goal of getting laid. Maybe focus on the smaller goal of like, today I'm going to strike up a conversation with a stranger to get more comfortable in that social situation or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, try to take little steps towards, socializing yourself with other human beings. And learn that it's not super scary, at least not usually. But eventually I think you'll get there. Wilhelm's Cream gave $5. Says, Trump gave me $1,200 and most of it went to my house being built in Mexico, but this $5 can go to the greatest YouTuber alive. Been watching since 2014. Keep up the great content. Awesome. I love how you're using that Trump money to build a house in Mexico. That's kind of fun. All right, so I'm going to do some more super chats. I'd ask you guys to probably stop donating right now because I'm probably not going to be reading after this. I might, because you guys, I'm a softie for you guys, but we'll talk about that in a second. So, man, there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, here we go. Johnny Topside gave $5. I don't know if I mentioned that already. Martin Duplessis gave $10. Says, thoughts on Vosh's takedown of Elon Musk. He had some compelling points, but it was not entirely honest in my opinion. I have not watched that. So, R. Sullivan gave $5 and says, favorite cartoon series. Also, butts are nice. Thank you. Butts are nice. My favorite cartoon series at the moment is probably Rick and Morty. I hate to be unoriginal. I know that a lot of people are watching that at the moment, but yeah, I love that show. CSGS Kate or CSG Skate or something. Which is worse, TLJ or Return of Skywalker? Oh, Return of Skywalker was way worse for me. TLJ, as much as I didn't really care for it and thought it was sort of mediocre, at least it had some sort of like actual story to tell or some sort of ambition behind it or some sort of message it was trying to get across. Return of Skywalker, or Rise of Skywalker, rather. You wrote Return, but it's Rise. Rise of Skywalker is an incoherent mess that was very obviously assembled by a giant, uncaring, faceless corporation that has no soul to it, no humanity whatsoever. It's garbage. It's pure and utter garbage. It's not a misfire. It wasn't even an honest attempt to make a good movie. Who else but Zane? I don't know. Who else but Zane would give $5 and say, I feel like if I were to eat another human, vegans would probably taste the best. What do you think, TJ? I mean, that's possible. They say that animals tend to taste like what their diets are, and I personally like the taste of meat. So I think meat eaters would probably taste better. But then again, we have more carcinogens and shit, so I don't know. The 420 Cell gave $5 and says, you were saying that looks don't matter as much in men. Check out Face and LMS channel. Sorry, but looks matter to women a lot. I think that's kind of deceptive. So, I mean, I don't know I don't know what exactly you're referring to, but if you're referring to like these studies that show that like women are way more harsh in their ratings of men's appearance, like, that can be true, but it can also be true at the same time that women do not place as much emphasis on appearance. And in fact, that's probably why like a woman doesn't instantly look at some dude and just be like, oh, I got the hots for him. Like, men will instantly just know visually, like, oh, this woman turns me on. Women don't know that as much. So like they look at a lot of men and they're just like, I'm underwhelmed by that, because they need more of that personality stuff. I think that's just how it goes. The Angry Pool Man, and I could be wrong. I mean, we could fucking look at studies and try to figure it out. The Angry Pool Man gave $2 and says, I farted in my diaper and some excrement came out. Okay, good to know. Jake Matter gave $5 and says, men get more turned on by facial expression while women get more turned on by the sexual organs. Studies done under fMRI. As each sex watch porn. Well, that makes sense to me because I've always thought that penises on a purely visual level do look better than vaginas. Sorry, they just do. Austin Maxfield, like a penis looks like it has structure to it. You know what I mean? Like vaginas are way more like abstract. Like this is some fucking Pablo Picasso shit. You know what I mean? Not to insult the works of Pablo Picasso or vaginas, because they're both great, but You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm getting at. Austin Maxfield, 199. Florgendorf, the Wise, West. I don't know what you're fucking yammering about. Luke Kaminsky gave $4.99 and says, to what degree do you agree with Paul's capitalism is the root of all evil notion? I think that human nature is probably the root of more evil than capitalism, but capitalism certainly kicks certain elements of human nature into hyperdrive. Cameron Smith, 199. Your thoughts on a possible Tarantino Star Trek? I'm excited for anything he does. Attack on YouTube gave $1.99 and says, what's your favorite one of your videos? I'm probably super keen on the videos in my Order of Chaos series where I'm just reading my book because I put a lot of effort into I put more effort into my words there than I normally would for any other video. So I think that as someone who considers himself to be something of a writer, I'm pretty proud of those words. Kirk Coble gave $5 Canadian and says, I'd love to see you guys do a DFF on failed presidential candidates. That'd be a cool one. Oh my God, they just go on and on. Twilight City Studios gave $5 and says, put out a short film recently titled Other. Appreciate you checking that out along with other films and videos I've done. Okay, well, send it to my Twitter DMs. Henry Vlogs gave $19.99. I know that conspiracy theorists can be crazy, but do you really trust Bill Gates? It seems kind of stupid to me that anyone would trust him and his vaccines, and I'm not even anti-vax. Love your vids, TJ. You're very relatable. Like, what exactly do you think his ulterior motive is? Like, he's given a lot of money to charity. He's fought a lot of infectious diseases around the planet. He warned America before this virus came of some countermeasures we could take, and now he's putting money into a vaccine. It seems like he's doing a lot of pretty good stuff. So I don't know. Is there a reason I should distrust him? Like, has he done something nefarious in any way, shape, or form? Appfrot gave $5 and says, watch Space Cop. Thanks for the years of entertainment, TJ. I will. The Mother's Follower gave $1.99 and says, the Goblin Floggin. Okay, cool. Sergio Ribeiro gave $5 and says, what are your thoughts on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of Quentin Tarantino's best films, in my opinion? Jackie Brown is still Quentin Tarantino's best film ever, though. I do not like Jackie Brown. That's like my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I've not watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet. It's on my to-watch list. I have a big pile of movies I want to watch. But then when I go to try to watch them, I end up watching, like, Mutant Cannibals Space Vampires 7 or some shit instead. So, fuck me. I just have terrible taste. Zarknon gave $5. It says, ever get into Danny Phantom? I don't know what that is. Twilight City Studios gave $5 and says, have you ever checked out the conspiracy theory documentary Plandemic was taken down by multiple channels on YouTube? It's on BitChute and other lesser known sites. I've not checked it out. I don't know what that is. Daniel gave $5 Australian, says, don't forget the Patriot Act is being renewed. Oh, joy of joys. Austin Maxfield gave $4.99. He says, who would win a battle to the death? A chicken, viper, baboon hawk versus a hippo, gator, spider dwarf. Fuck. Okay, let's see. Chicken, viper, baboon, hawk. Okay, I think I have that in my mind. Hippo, gator, spider dwarf. Hippo, gator, spider dwarf would definitely win. Please review Out of Shadows. Out of Shadows. I don't know what that is. You know, some of these things you're gonna have to send me more information. Has there been a good movie this year? I don't know. It's pretty early in the year. I mean, I guess it's not. It's like halfway over. But like a lot of movies got delayed or whatever because of the coronavirus. So, and usually the early part of the year is not when the best movies come out. And that's from Andrew the Rose for $3. And Anonymous gave $2. Says, yeah, for sure. It'll take a bit of time. If I'm honest, I don't really lose my mind over the whole, I've never been late. This is the 30-year-old version guy. It does wear on me a bit. It's weird. I'm doing stand-up, but I can't hold a conversation. Love the content, bud. Well, just keep trying, man. Just keep putting yourself out there, and I'm sure something's going to go your way. All right, last round of these, and then I'm wrapping it up. CSG Skate, or however it's pronounced. Sorry, meant Rise of Skywalker. I'm high. Agree with you. Do you agree that what ruined The Rise of Skywalker was how TLJ destroyed any storylines across the trilogy? Yeah, I do think TLJ bears some responsibility for fucking shit up, but it just doesn't change the fact that, to me, Like, maybe they should have just let Rian Johnson continue it, honestly. I've seen him be a good filmmaker in Knives Out, so maybe he was going somewhere with that plot line. Maybe I honestly think that we'd have a better trilogy if we went with just J.J. Abrams or just Rian Johnson. Like, I think we'd, like, even if you didn't like either of their directions, at least it would be one coherent trilogy from start to finish instead of this, like, weirdly disjointed, fucking poorly planned catastrophe. Not even poorly planned, just flat out not planned. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening to me rant and rave. If you have any sort of like further questions or whatever, you can always write me on Twitter or any of those other places and ask. And, you know, I always love to hear from you guys in any way, shape, or form. I don't always respond to everything I receive in terms of communications, but I try to read it all. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hope I made some interesting points. Hope you agreed with some stuff. Hope you disagree with some stuff. And, you know, I hope that you can leave some productive comments down below. And, you know, I hope you have a good rest of your night. If it's nighttime for you, a good rest of your day. If it's daytime for you, I don't give a shit, you know, what time it is where you are, but I just hope it's good. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Love each and every last motherfucking one of you, except for those fuckers who continue to fucking badger me about being late when I'm a minute late. I haven't forgotten about you. Don't think the last fucking 2 hours of me ranting and raving made me forget how fucking much I hate your fucking guts. But no, I seriously, I love you too. But it's over. It's time to go.